All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining today's session. If you see me looking away from the screen, it's only because I've got multiple screens, one with the Discord running on it and another with the presentation. So don't mind me if I'm looking away. Appreciate everybody taking the time out of your day to join us to go over this. I'll give you a bit of my background just for a minute. I've worked in IT for over 30 years. Started off doing programming in COBOL and RPG, and that kind of gives you a hint of how long I've been doing this stuff. I did a lot of different things, networking, desktop support, server support, just about a jack of all trades. Most of my recent years were spent managing IT projects. I got involved back in 2018 with crypto mining using ASICs and using GPUs. Got hooked on that. Eventually came across ScPrime, started doing some mining with that. And as many of you know, I ended up running one of the mining pools for ScPrime. And that's about it. As many of you may or may not know, I'm not actually a part of the project team, but I'm a strong believer in what's going on here, and I've tried to add what I can, and that's the reason why I'm here today, and that's why I'm presenting today. So I guess what I'll do is I'm going to flip over to the presentation that I have and the demonstration, and we'll just get started. So let me just share my screen. Let's see here. Where do I go to share my screen? And just bear with me for a second here. Oops. Share entire screen. All right. So if someone could tell me if they can see the title screen there, if you can put it in the chat, that'd be great. Okay, I've got a few yeses. Great. So the presentation is called "How to Stop Crying Over Spilled Milk and Lost Data." And of course, you can see in the picture there that somebody spilled milk onto their keyboard. And if you've been working with computers long enough, you might have come across this situation. And it's very common for people to have a problem accessing their data because of something like this. So that's why it's titled that way. So let's go on to the first screen here. So the first question is, why am I here, or why are you here? Well, I don't know. This kind of shows my age, but if you've ever heard that click, click, click from a hard drive, you know the feeling that means that your data is gone. You're not going to get it back. And, some people say, well, that's the old days. Now there's SSDs and there's thumb drives. But if you've had a thumb drive like this and you've worked with them long enough, you've probably shoved one in a machine at some point and nothing. And it's just been dead. So, not totally reliable. Same with the removable USB storage, stuff like that. I've seen controllers get shot in this and all of a sudden you couldn't access the data. So, it's very common to lose data. And it's only when you've lost data that you then think about the backups. Why are we here? Well, the cost of online services are getting higher and higher. Using Google Drive or using, iCloud, those things can get expensive, especially as you start storing more and more data. And as we all know, we don't delete much data. We tend to, just add to it. So having a solution that we have available to us through ScPrime, that's quite a thing. The worst thing is when you have to tell somebody you've lost stuff, telling your family you lost the vacation pictures because you didn't have it backed up. A little embarrassing. Even worse when you're, at work and you have to tell your boss that you've lost information because you forgot to back it up, or they forgot to back it up. Another reason that you're here is hopefully that you want to help grow the ScPrime network, but maybe you don't know how to do that or what to do. So I'm going to try and show you a little insight into what you can do to help out. to grow the network and to also help yourself by, doing a backup. Why are you here? Well, if I asked you when was the last time that you backed up your PC, you might not have ever done it. You might be, lucky. Maybe you've never had a problem. But again, once it happens, that's when you value the backups. So anyway, that's why we're here. So what are we going to do today? What are we using? Well, you are going to be, what I call the hero, because you're going to be the person that's going to save your files and have a backup. The software that we're going to use is called Duplicati. And, even though we're using that specific tool, there are a variety of options available, because the beauty is that we're working with an S3 compatible relayer. So any of the applications that have been created or are available that can communicate via S3 will work with ScPrime's relayer. So here's a quick list of some of them, and the platforms they run on and the costs and things like that. I just chose Duplicati because I'd heard it was good and it was free. And, I tried it out and it worked very well. So that's the one I chose. You could choose any of these. I mean, I saw somebody the other day posting that they were using Arc Backup more as a production type, almost sounded like a work kind of environment that they were in. So let's see here. The next tool is the actual relayer. And if you haven't seen the relayer, well, if you've got an XA miner, then it's very easy to use now and see. So whether you have an XA miner or you've purchased one of the relayer XMs, either one will do the job with what we're about to speak about. And finally, the last thing here is the actual cloud, which, as most of you know, it's just a combination of the storage providers located around the world. So those are the tools we're going to be discussing kind of in a way, and specifically using Duplicati. Just a quick note on what I would call digital hoarding versus smart backups. So digital hoarding would be like somebody that just takes a copy of all their files and puts it on a thumb drive or external USB. And there's really no, logic to it. They just take a dump of what they have and they put it there. So with smart backups, it can be very efficient in storing your data. So for example, instead of storing every file every time, they can just store the changes that have occurred on your system. So basically, you may have a 20 gig, set of files that you're trying to store, and you could store a whole week's worth of backups, and it may only be 21 gigs in total that is being stored, even though you've got 7 days of backups. So that's what I would consider a smart backup. Today, we're going to look at what we call the GFS backups strategy, and that's called a grandfather, father, son. The son is your daily backups. And that's, of course, so that you can recover something from any day from the last 7 days. And a father backup is the one that's done weekly, once a week. And, of course, that lets you recover things from the previous week. And finally, there's a grandfather, which is a monthly backup. And that lets you recover some things from the previous month. Of course, there's other schemes that you can use for backups. There's also one that includes a great grandfather, which would be like a yearly backup that you would want to, keep every single year. So anyway, we're just going to look at the GFS, the basic grandfather, father, son backup at this point. If you were to look at it visually, what it looks like, you could see that, the red days of the calendar here are the daily backups that capture the changes on your system. And then the gray ones are the full backups that are done once a week. And then that dark black one there on the 30th is the full backup or the monthly backup. So what do you need before you start this whole thing? Well, you've got to have Duplicati installed and running. So I'm going to actually, while we're here on the call, download Duplicati, install it, and see if we can get it configured. And of course, if you've been in IT, you've probably experienced a demonstration where things don't work. I'm crossing my fingers that everything's going to work, but I didn't want to have it all installed and running and just say, here's how it works. I want to actually show you the whole thing from front to back. So we'll do that in a second. The other thing is you need to have a relayer running. Now, I'm not going to install the relayer because I'm hoping that most of you would have that already. But I'll show you how you go in and look at, creating a bucket where you're going to store the data and getting the information such as the keys from it. So let's go ahead and get started here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a browser and we're going to load up Duplicati. So let's just open a window here. Okay, put this here and we're going to search for Duplicati. Duplicati backup. And where is Duplicati? Here it is there. All right. And we're going to say get started. And we're going to download for Windows. So you can see the download occurred up here. It's just small, 83 megs. And what's it? It says it's okay. I'll open that up. And move this over here. So basically it's just, next, I accept, next. It's going to install the core files and it's going to launch it at startup. Okay. So even though it's a Windows application that I'm installing, it's going to be set up as a web app. So I'll be able to access it from a web browser. So it's just asking me to authorize it there in Windows. And now it's installing it. And I'm going to let it launch it and finish. And I think it'll open up a web browser window here. If it doesn't, then what I'll do is I'll just go to my taskbar, which you can't see, and I'll just open it from there. Okay, let's click there. So in your taskbar, there's a little icon there for it if you need to access it. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to add a backup here. Well, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to the relayer and just grab the information from that. I'll show you where that is. So let me just see here. That's not what I want. There's my relayer. Here. I'm just going to go type in my address for my relayer. I'm just going to go directly to the port for it. All right, so this is my relayer. So this is running on my examiner. And, if you've gotten the recent upgrades, you'll have this dashboard available to you as well. And on the relayer here, what I'm going to do is just create a new bucket. And I'm going to create one called PC demo. So now I'm not going to be accessing these files as backup from anywhere else. So I don't need SMB sharing. That would allow me to set up a network drive that I could access from other machines. I'll just turn that off for now. You can leave it on. It wouldn't really matter. So I'll create that bucket. So now in my buckets, I have a bucket called PC demo over here. And you can see there's nothing in it. For those of you who've never seen a relayer before, you basically can just drag and drop files into here by just dropping them onto this interface. Or you can click upload files and then you can upload a file from your local system. So, but we're not going to use any of those features. I'm not trying to demonstrate how easy that is. That's too easy. I'm going to demonstrate how we use Duplicati to send my files from my machine, from my PC, to this bucket called PC demo. So let's go back into Duplicati. Let me get rid of those screens there. And we'll go back in here and we're going to add a backup. So we're going to configure a new backup. And we're going to call this the, let's say, Bootstrap. You can call it anything you want, basically, but it's my Bootstrap backup. And you can give it a description, which is optional. So it's got the ability to encrypt the files. I'm not going to do that because ultimately the files get encrypted within the ScPrime network. So it would just be extra encryption that would be required. So I'm not even going to bother with that. And we'll just click next. And then it asks, what type of storage am I going to send my backup to? Well, I'm going to send it to a S3 compatible backup. Now, I'm going to flip back over to my relayer for a second because I want to grab some of the information from there. So once you've got your relayer up and running and you've got a bucket created, what you can do is you can go into settings and then system information, system configuration. And what it'll show you in there is the URL or the IP address and the port that you will need for your backup application to talk to the relayer. So that's this stuff right here, this 192.217 port 9000. So I'm going to just take that information and copy it. And then I also am going to need the access key, which is here, and the secret key, which is here. Of course, don't share that with anybody. Doesn't matter for me because this is on my local network and can't be accessed externally. So I'm going to copy those values as well. And I'm just going to put them in Notepad so I've got quick access to them as well. And so those are the three pieces of information you're going to need from the relayer. And that's going to be the same for any S3 application that you're trying to configure, whether it's a backup application or some other type of application. You're going to need the URL and the access keys. So let's get out of there, and we'll go back to Duplicati, and we're going to say here that we're going to let's see here, S3 compatible, and I want a custom server URL. I mean, they've already pre-populated a bunch of the ones from, Wasabi and from Amazon and stuff like that. But we're going to use a custom one, and the custom one's going to be that that URL that I took from the relayer. The only thing to note there is I don't need the HTTPS. It actually doesn't even like that when you put it in, so it's just the IP and the port. And don't worry about trying to follow along with this. I've actually got a document that I'll be posting in Discord, and it's got step-by-step instructions on how to do this because I'm going to run through it rather quickly. So the bucket name was called PC Demo. Okay, so we're going to call this PC Demo. And bucket can be left as default, storage class default. If there was a specific folder within that bucket, you could put it here. I'm just going to leave it as default. And the access key is correct, and I already had that populated. And I'm going to put in the access key here as well. And finally, so it says which client library to use. I might be able to use the Amazon one, but I know using the Minio SDK works and is the proper one. So now I can click test connection, and it's recommending that I put my account ID in front of the bucket name, but I don't need to do that. I just want to leave my bucket name the way it is. So I'm just going to say, no, don't add that. And it tests the connection to the relayer, says everything's okay. So I click OK, and now I can go to the next screen. So in this screen here, what it's asking for is which parts of my PC do I want to back up. So I'm going to select, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to computer, go to my C drive, and go to the important files and just click that. So under there, I've got some docs, some pictures, and some videos for the purpose of this demonstration. And I'm going to add that as a path. And then, oh, that was adding directly. Sorry, I just got to check the boxes there. That's all I need to do. So just like that. And then next. And now it's asking when I want to schedule the backups to run. So I'm going to leave it at 1 p.m., tomorrow as the first backup, and just click next. The thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use the smart backup feature that's part of Duplicati. So here I'm going to say smart backup retention. And that's actually going to do, as you can see here, it's going to back up, each of the last 7 days, each of the last 4 weeks, and each of the last 12 months. So that's that GFS backup strategy that I was talking about. So I'm going to click save, and says it's just reminding me you're not encrypting this, but I know that's fine. As I said, we're going to live dangerously. Not really, because it gets encrypted as it goes through the relayer. So continue without encryption. And so now we can see that I've got my Bootstrap backup here. So just as a reminder, over here in my relayer, this is the PC demo bucket that we created to hold our backup. And if I refresh here, I'll just show you that the PC demo bucket still empty. And now we're about to run our backup. So I'm going to say run now. And we can see that it's starting to back up here at the top. We can see the progress bar. And if we go over to our relayer, I'm guessing, let's just see here if the relayer shows us anything going on. Doesn't show us anything yet. Okay, let's see. Still doing the backup. Okay, looks like we've got some action happening there. Let's go check our relayer again. And you can see there's uploads happening, and there's files now populated within that PC demo bucket. Now, one of the options there that I didn't really point out was that Duplicati asks you how big of a chunk you want to put your backup in, and 50 megs was the default, and I just took that as the default. So it chunked up my backup into 50 meg sections. So basically, back here to Duplicati, and I think it's still waiting for it to finish, maybe. Again, live demo, hoping goes well. Okay, 91 files to go. I guess I should have put fewer files in my important folder. While that's going, I'll just show you something else just for fun. Over here, I'm going to bring over another screen in a second. Let me just see. Where is it? Let me just see if I can get to it. All right, looks like the backup says it's 100% done. One file to go. Okay, what I was going to show you was a different system. And let me just bring it up here, and I'll just bring it up, flash it onto your screen here. Basically, let me bring this over here. Why didn't that go? Okay, try this again. So I've got a VM running here. It's not letting me go full screen for some reason. This VM over here is actually a Linux box. It's running Ubuntu. And so this app runs pretty much exactly the same over on Ubuntu. For example, if I can get this to go full screen here. I don't know how to do that. Okay, let me just try this again. Okay, so this is a Ubuntu screen that we're looking at right now. So if I go in here, and I've installed Duplicati very much the same way that I did on the Windows box. So I'll bring that up. So when I launch Duplicati, what it'll do is it'll launch my web browser and take me into a web session. And very much the same as on the Windows thing. And then I can do the exact same thing here. Now the interface looks a little different because this is the newer interface of Duplicati, but basically I can add a backup in. I could go through it and show it to you, but it's basically the exact same thing. You just go in and you add your backup, tell it the type of backup that you want, whether you want encryption or not, blah, blah, blah. It's very much identical and works exactly the same way. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. So basically, I don't know what this is. Backup using Duplicati cannot access. Okay, not sure what it's saying there. Let's go back, look at our relayer, double check that we're all good on the relayer. I'll just refresh the screen. So we've got 1.2 gigs of data and 51 objects that are currently in this PC demo bucket. So anyway, that's the backup that's done. Now what we'll do, of course, anytime you do a backup, you may need to do a restore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, or actually let's just click restore. So we want to do a direct restore from the backup files and from S3, and it's going to be custom server URL. So we're doing the reverse of what we did earlier. So the endpoint there is that. The bucket name is PC demo. That's the key there. Let me just copy over the secret key again. Copy the secret key, paste, and it's the Minio. And we're going to test the connection. I don't want to add that. Connection worked. Next. Passphrase, there wasn't one, I don't believe. Okay, and restore the files. So let's do docs. Let's restore this presentation. Continue. And I'm going to pick a new location to put this in just so we can see it. And I wonder if it lets me create /restore. Overwrite if it finds them. Okay, and restore. Building, waiting for a task begin. Downloading files. Restoring one file. And okay, your folders have been successfully restored. Let's see if that's true. Let's go in here. I'm going to go to the C drive, go to the restore folder, and there's my PowerPoint presentation that I just restored. So fortunately, our backup and restore tutorial worked. And let me go back here to my presentation and just get through that stuff. And so basically, that's all you need to do. Install something like a backup application, and then now the thing is, I'm worry-free. My PC is going to be backed up every day, day in, day out. As long as my PC is running, then Duplicati is going to be running in the background as a background application, and it's going to send the backup to the relayer. And it'll keep up to a year's worth of data for me. And like I said, it's a smart backup because it's not going to continually take the entire backup set of files and duplicate them. It's going to be smart about it and only create save what's been changed. So that's basically it. I know earlier it was discussed about, is there a mobile application? I think that's on the project's plan to have a mobile application. I wrote one a while ago just as a proof of concept. So it's easy to do, or fairly easy to do. And right now you'd have to use a third-party application, like there's a Sync Android or Sync iOS that could take your phone data, like photos, and send that to a PC. And then if you had Duplicati on that PC, it could back up that folder, which would contain your photos. So there is a way to do it, but it's got multiple components and not ideal. Ideally, there would be a mobile app. And so again, I'm going to post the step-by-step guide that I created on Discord. Now, mind you, when I created the guide a week ago, it used a certain set of screens within Duplicati. I noticed last night when I downloaded the latest version, they'd updated the GUI, the UI. So the screens look a little different. The information's still much the same, just the presentation's a little different. So I'll post the one that I have. Duplicati lets you switch between the old UI and the new UI, so you can actually do that. but I'll maybe update the guide as well in the future to make it exact to the version that's available. So anyway, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thanks everyone again for joining, and that's it for me. We'll see you on the Discord. Bye for now.